Welcome to another episode of the Vibe Archive. Today's episode, we're going to be reviewing all things Halloween. We're going to be going over the new Monster Ed Gein story, which is a insane series that we watched. One of the probably most gory, detailed, graphic series that I've ever watched. That's for sure. It's definitely up there with the Monster Jeffrey Dahmer series that they did. We're also going to see if we can find some cool Halloween facts. And then we're going to close out by going over today's music pick, which is Twin Twibes, another duo from Texas, a dark wave indie band that I think is a super cool find. Just their whole visuals and their aesthetic is something that I was super interested in. So let's start going over the Ed Gein story. This show was probably one of the few shows or movies that I've watched where I literally could not eat during it. It was very eerie, graphic, gory, just put you on. It's very hard to explain. It just really made you feel uneasy, that's for sure. So the Monster Ed Gein story is the third season of the Netflix series Monster, released on October 3rd, 2025. It chronicles the gruesome life and crimes of Ed Gein, a mid-mannered man from the rural Plainfield, Wisconsin, who became known as the Plainfield Ghoul. One thing that I thought that was interesting about his story was how closed off he was from everybody else. Just his family seemed like a trustworthy guy. Everybody would kind of hire him as handyman stuff, but one of these days just took a turn. The plot follows the life of Ed Gein, played by Charlie Hunman, traced his path to becoming a killer and grave robber. A toxic upbringing, the series established Gein's twisted mentality by focusing on his upbringing under his fanatically religious and abusive mother. He had a pretty toxic upbringing. His mom was very religious. Just didn't let him grow at all as a human, especially a man, being underneath his mom's supervision 24/7. So didn't let him date, didn't let him talk to other women, nothing. So, but after his mom dies, he starts to go a little bit insane, thinking that she's still alive, thinking that she's still in the house talking to him, and come to find out he has schizophrenia. So, he's seeing a lot of these things, hallucinating, and like I said earlier, he was a pretty mild-mannered man. He, handyman, helped people whenever he could, hold the door open for you. But he would almost kind of have these episodes or black out from what it seemed in the series, where then he would kind of just go killing people or robbing graves. The series shows him kind of going over the edge whenever he sees some World War II photos. That he's never seen anything like that. So it kind of messed him up in a sense once he saw those photos, and it opened this whole curiosity of the dead and body parts and all this type of stuff. So he became intrigued with some of the World War II stories that he was seeing, some of the comics that were very gory and really messed up. So he became very interested in that for some reason and took to doing it on his own, where he would go and rob these graves. He would kill people and he would dismember them, make furniture out of them, and I'm sorry to laugh, but it's just crazy the stuff that he came up with to do with human bodies, like make a belt out of nipples and lamps out of human skin. The series was crazy. And how graphic they were with everything and how realistic they were with him and the dead bodies. And it was just crazy. It was just a insane documentary kind of bio movie series that they came out with that definitely is a must watch if you're into that sort of thing. Like I said, it was one of the very few shows where I really did feel uneasy multiple times, if not most of the show. He ends up killing a woman that worked at a general store that he kind of had a fling with. They say he could have maybe killed his brother before he kind of went off the deep end. I guess that there was a barn fire that he was kind of there for, but wasn't. And it was just very fishy, the whole thing. And so he could have killed his brother. He killed the lady at the general store that he had a fling with. He tried killing, or did kill, I can't remember if he did kill, maybe, a babysitter that apparently took his job from being a babysitter. So he definitely had something wrong with him. And whenever he got caught and took a lie detector test on some of this stuff, I mean, he would pass the lie detector test and he wouldn't be thinking that he's lying. So, he would go into like this trance or something where whenever he would kill people, he would just kind of click and wouldn't really remember too much, but kind of did. That's kind of the theory is, did he actually remember that type of stuff? So then he ended up getting put in a crazy house. And, they kind of got him taken care of in there, got him on some meds, still struggling with it. But one thing that I thought was kind of weird in the series was a couple scenes showed him getting fan mail or like getting fanfare for committing the crimes. And like I said, he was a mild-mannered man. He didn't really classify himself as a serial killer. He didn't like getting the fan mail from the people. So it seemed like he couldn't really relate to that. Even though people were putting him in that category, he didn't think of himself that way because he had schizophrenia and some other issues. So that series was one of the craziest that I've seen, whether if it was a movie, a documentary, whatever. That show was definitely one of the most insane ones that I've watched just the whole storyline and everything. The color grade, how it was shot, it definitely made it stand out from any other show that's come out, especially how gruesome and how graphic it was. That was pretty nuts. So that's definitely a show to watch. I think that there's 8 episodes, about an hour each. So it's probably maybe a weekend thing, a week thing that it'll take you to go through. But if you're into the Halloween stuff and you like the horror, check out the Monster Ed Gein story, because they say that he inspired a lot of other serial killers, and he inspired a lot of stories in general, from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre to Ted Bundy, possibly. They say that, there's people out there that say that, no, they didn't know who he was. They didn't know who Ed Gein was at the time. But, the movie Psycho came out around that time, and they depict in the series that he was heavily the inspiration behind that. Because back in the early 1900s, ain't nobody doing that. Nobody's going and skinning people and keeping body parts and digging up graves and making furniture out of them. Like, it was crazy. So I could totally see how it inspired some of these other stories, which, in a sense is kind of cool. You get these crazy ideas from real stories, whether it's, he got the idea from World War II. So imagine how graphic that stuff was, and that was all real. So it's really, it's all inspired by true things that humans come up with for some weird reason. And so if that's true, that's pretty interesting how these other serial killers were kind of inspired by them, because it was so shocking to that point, and it kind of had that effect that the World War II pictures had on Gein, where they saw it and it was so absurd but interesting, and you just couldn't take your eyes off of it, even if it was bad. So definitely a very cool series to watch if you get bored and you want something to scare you and have some. I definitely thought that I was going to have some nightmares because of it. I don't know if I did, because of course you can't remember them for very long. But yeah, me and my coworkers talk about that one at work all the time. It blew my mind. The Jeffrey Dahmer one was crazy too, but the Ed Gein one was just a little bit past it. It was a little bit past it. So that one was pretty cool. Now, kind of switching gears, I wanted to talk about some Halloween facts. I wanted to kind of keep this whole episode as a Halloween vibe. We'll just name off some of these here. Let's see. The tradition of Halloween dates back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, which which marked the end of the harvest season and a time when the boundaries between the living and the dead were believed to be blurred. Okay, kind of weird. Jack-o'-lanterns were not always pumpkins. The first jack-o'-lanterns were carved from turnips in Ireland, not pumpkins. Me and my wife went and picked out pumpkins from a local farmer's market, and there are so many different types of pumpkins. You have orange, white, orange and red. There was also like a really brown, kind of like off orange brown that was pretty cool. So many different types of pumpkins. Small, big. So, I mean, pretty good. Was it a vegetable or maybe like a fruit? Probably a vegetable. Okay, moving on. The name Halloween, it is abbreviated version of All Hallows Evening, the night before All Saints Day, which is on November 1st. It's a major commercial holiday. Halloween is the second most commercial holiday in the United States right after Christmas. I think it should be reversed, because I think Halloween is just the best holiday. I don't care. I like Halloween. I'm coming around to Christmas. This year, for some reason, I've been coming around to Christmas. Maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but still, Halloween is just unbeat, in my opinion, with the haunted houses, the scary movies. I mean, during Christmas, there's no Halloween type thing. I mean, you can go to like a hayride, but what gives you that adrenaline like Halloween? The U.S. spends billions on Halloween. Americans spend about $1 billion on Halloween, with a significant portion going towards candy and pet costumes. I can totally see that, because who I have right here is my pet, Marble. This is our dog, Marble. She's a Maltese and a mini Aussie mix. I could totally see us spending a lot of money on our pets, because we spend a lot of money on her. Magician Harry Houdini died on Halloween. The famous magician died on October 31st, 1926. I did not know that. Magician Harry Houdini died on Halloween. That's pretty cool. If I had to die on a holiday, it would be Halloween. Black cats have a historical association with Halloween. Black cats have long been linked to witches and superstition, and their association with Halloween began long before the holiday modern form. So it's always been associated with Halloween. Orange and black symbolize Halloween. Orange and black were chosen as the traditional Halloween colors for symbolic reasons. Orange represents the fall harvest, while black symbolizes death and the night. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that. Halloween is just one of those holidays where you get to be scary, you get to be the stuff that, most people don't like. And you get to be weird, you get to be an oddball, you get to decorate your own way, you could be whatever you want. It's almost like a dumbed down version of The Purge almost. So, I mean, it's pretty cool. The world's largest Halloween parade takes place in New York City, drawing over 50,000 participants annually. That would be nuts to go there. New York City, they got it going on Halloween. Owls were once thought to be witches' companions. Hearing one hoot was considered a bad omen on Halloween night. So if you hear a hoot from an owl on Halloween, you better watch out for them witches. So we've gone over the Ed Gein and how crazy that was. Some Halloween little fun facts. Now let's talk about the band spotlight that I have. Obviously, trying to fit the Halloween vibe, we got Twin Tribes. If you've never heard of them, they are a duo out of Texas. They're like the indie, dark, synth, wave, gothic type vibe. Their visual themes on all their videos is definitely Halloween vibe. I watched I think it was like a Tiny Desk, or I watched some sort of YouTube performance of them, and they talked about how they really try to have their visuals a priority for their shows, for their music videos, for their social media. They really take their aesthetic serious. So I think that's pretty cool. I mean, one opinion that I have about newer bands coming out in like the past, maybe let's just say 5 years, 10 years, is they all kind of go the label route. They do the same dress up. They all look like they're like, these typical band photos, typical music videos with flames and all this type of stuff, but I really like how Twin Tribes went the whole gothic route with the contrast of the colors, with the candles, and I mean, it's just different. Even how their bass, how it's really bass and synth led, all of that is super cool. I'll do a little bio on them real quick. Twin Tribes is a darkwave post-punk duo from Brownsville, Texas, formed in 2017 by Luis Navarro and Joel Nino Jr., drawing heavily from 80s sounds like The Cure and the Depeche Mode. They're just a little bit darker in my opinion. Melodic vocals and driving rhythms with lyrics that explore themes of love, loss, and occult, and the undead. Their sound is characterized by a romantic gothic aesthetic, and they have gained recognition in the underground and international darkwave scenes. I mean, some of their songs just totally makes you want to go to like a dark disco where, I mean, everybody's dressed in black, and I mean, a really interesting band that I became a fan of from watching them on, gosh, I can't remember the name of the YouTube channel that it is, but they have bands come in all the time. And Audio Tree, I saw their performance on Audio Tree, and I became a fan instantly. I liked how one of them was playing guitar with vocals, the other one was playing I think it was like piano and vocals or something. They had programmed drums, but two-piece getting it done. That's kind of today's episode, to keep it the Halloween vibe. That's the type of stuff I've been into lately. We've been watching a lot of the documentaries and the series and the really dark stuff, trying to keep it all Halloween this month. And I've been really getting into Twin Tribes and that whole genre of music this month too. So if you're like me and you like all that type of dark aesthetic vibe stuff, check out the Monster Netflix series, The Ed Gein Story. Get your costumes ready for Halloween, and while you're getting ready for Halloween, bump Twin Tribes. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. So this is the third episode of the Vibe Archive. Thanks for checking it out. Let me know in the comments if you think that the Ed Gein story is real, what you think is fake, and tell me if you actually checked out Twin Tribes.